Hello and welcome back, and thank you for sticking with us to the end. This will be the last session from us here live from AWS Summit in Sydney, for this year anyway. My name is Gabe Hollenby. I'm a technical evangelist with AWS, and we have a few other people on stage, some familiar faces you've seen already, and one new face. Let's introduce yourselves for the new viewers.
So my name's Bobby Kubor. I'm a solutions architect here at AWS in Sydney.
My name's Chris Howard. I'm a solutions architect manager here in Sydney as well.
And I'm Dr. Pete, and I'm the head of solution architecture for Australia and New Zealand.
Welcome everybody, and especially Bobby, welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lucky last.
Lucky last. But
Last
it really
but
is
most
lucky last.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, our viewers are in store for a treat. We've got a nice little demo that Bobby's prepared to talk about something he built. Instead of just doing a clip show with us spending 15 minutes talking about our favorite parts about the last few days, I figured we'll just do a real quick hit. Each of us can say, what do we really love? What's our one pick of our favorite thing throughout the last few days of Summit? I'll start. I really loved seeing the surf life-saving drone in the keynote this morning. The fact that now we've got this Ripper drone, can fly out, drop an inflatable pool noodle sort of thing to help people who get stuck in riptides is absolutely amazing. And I love seeing technology put to play to actually change people's lives, or save people's lives in this case. So that's my pick. Bobby, what's your favorite part?
So I've actually spent a fair bit of time on the floor over the past 3 days, over at the Future of Retail, as well as Ask an Architect. And I've got the chance to spend a lot of time with some customers that are doing some really innovative stuff. And it's just really awesome to see a lot of organizations really take that risk and leverage some great technology to do some really important things.
I'm going to give a shout out to some of the amazing women I've met here this year. So Aileen Gemma Smith, our community hero, who has been fantastic and tireless. Ozzy, our Alexa evangelist, who has been running workshops, who was up here telling us about her favorite Alexa skills. Just love all these amazing women.
Michelle Hardy.
Michelle, beat those boys.
The rugby guys.
Yes, that was so cool.
And you too, Chris.
Yeah.
And you, of course. Goes without saying.
Yeah.
Look at the dress.
Yeah. All right, and for me, look, I'm going to have to cheat, unfortunately, because for me, it's the whole summit. I've been involved with the summit since pretty much October last year. So I've been kind of the content owner, and I've been looking at the banners and where things are going to get placed, and I've had an army of folks helping. So for me, seeing this thing come together from a concept and ideas and hundreds of submissions of topics, because we produce our own content here for the summit, for the breakout sessions. Yep. We do kind of tend to raise the bar a lot with that. So for me, it's been awesome to see customer satisfaction from this. I had somebody pull me over just before saying how much they've enjoyed it and how every year and year it's a better and more awesome summit. So I love all of it.
Somebody asked me today, they're like, so the speakers, do they do a lot of prep or do they just kind of wing it? And I went, you have no idea how much work has gone on behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
A lot of prep. We want to continue raising the bar.
Speaking of.
Yeah. So remind me.
That's a great segue. So we have Bobby here because we wanted to show something really fun. And there was a demo of this drone this morning in the keynote, a little bit of robotics. But we haven't really had a lot of robot-themed content here from the Summit Live booth. So Bobby built a robot arm, and if we cut over to my screen here,
he built a robot arm.
He built a robot arm.
That is not a thing you say often.
That's right.
I'm going to play you an example. So this is a demo of it. Bobby, talk us through, what are we seeing here? What did you make? What's going on?
Yeah, so look, basically, I must admit, I have absolutely no robotic background or experience. But essentially, I was able to put together a robot arm that can be controlled using the robot operating system. It's an autonomous robot arm, so it actually uses a depth sensor to be able to recognize objects, determine their 3D location, and then be able to reach out and pick up those objects.
Not bad for a guy who's nothing about AI and robotics.
Yeah,
you're telling me. Yeah, who would have thought, huh? So what we're seeing here is basically some test movements prior to an autonomous pick and place operation.
So what you're doing here is you're on the left-hand side in this 3D visualization, you're saying, configure yourself like this, and then you say go, and it figures out a way to make itself look like that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good way of being able to test whether the joint angles that are being published are being converted to steps that the motor is able to take to actuate those joints.
Very cool. Okay, and now what we can see here is there's a computer vision component.
Yeah. So what we're actually seeing, hopefully you should see, on the right-hand side on that stand, a can being placed. And then in the bottom middle part, we should be able to see that it recognizes that object. And then the top left part, we can see that it's actually mapped that out. So the robot is now aware of exactly where that can is, so that it's able to reach out and pick up that can.
Everyone on Bobby's team learned the term inverse kinematics. Yes.
Inverse kinematics. It sounds
Every
really
day
fancy.
I've heard that word for
What does
6
it
months.
mean? What does it mean,
It
Bobby?
is my favorite term. Admittedly, it makes me sound a lot more smarter than I am, and that's why I've been flogging that.
Stay with it.
Yeah.
Essentially, it means the ability to take 3D coordinates and pass that to an algorithm that then determines the joint angles in the arm required dynamically to be able to reach out and grasp that object. So it allows that dynamic movement.
And there's more than one way for me to go in from this configuration to like this configuration, right?
Yeah.
So it picks one of many possible routes.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the good thing about this is that if there's a collision object in the way, it's able to determine where that collision object is and then plan around it if necessary, right? So provides a lot of that dynamic capability that you want.
But the robot itself, where did it come from?
Good question. So basically, I bought admittedly, it was an excuse to buy a 3D printer in my home to print random stuff.
Sorry to Bobby's wife.
Yeah, there's a lot of random stuff in my house that I've 3D printed. But essentially, this was a $200 3D printer. I was able to get the robot arm as an open source project that was made out of Spain.
Ooh.
Whoa!
Questions?
That was
How long
essentially.
did it take to make? Asks New Shadow and Ant DX 3162.
Yep. So basically, it took maybe about a month to fully print all the parts, and that includes parts that completely failed. It took a little while to print on a little $200 3D printer, but it was all printed within my house and all constructed. And it cost about $500 to $600 to build altogether.
As opposed to if you were to do an industrial one.
Yeah, so look, if you were to buy a commercial robotic arm off the shelf, I was looking at about $10,000 US when I first started this project.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, well, that's
Wow.
well
I'm
out
not
of my
approving
price
that
budget.
expense.
No.
So that's well out of my price budget. The next thing I did was see how I could possibly build one myself.
And just to humanize this a bit more, because that's just like the success part of the story.
Yeah.
Especially anything you build almost never turns out right the first time, and especially when it comes to hardware. What were some of your failures that were most spectacular?
Yeah, so actually before I built this, I had a toy robotic arm, just so that I could try and learn the software aspects. And admittedly, I deployed the code incorrectly to it, and it slammed its head into the coffee table as hard as it could and took a massive chunk out of it. So
Was your wife happy about that?
my wife, I had to prove that the simulations actually worked in RoboMaker before I could deploy it to the physical robot, right? But admittedly, there were still some things like, I don't know the difference between, I didn't know the difference between a volt and an amp when I first got started. So I blew up a lot of power supplies, a lot of Arduino boards. It was quite the mission to get it across the line, but I've learned a lot.
Way to tell him not to breathe the solder.
Yeah. It was the first time I'd used a soldering iron, first time I'd used a drill.
Hey, that's pretty cool. When you think about innovation,
Yeah.
when we talk about innovation here at the summit,
And enablement.
right, where you can kind of go from idea to value or an experiment, whether it's success or failure.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
How many total hours, asks Ant D 3162.
So I started probably in December, and this was all pretty much out of hours. It was sort of something, it was a hobby or basically something that I wanted to do in my own time. So basically since December, making it a fully autonomous robot arm from start to finish, probably about three months.
Okay.
Wow.
So Bobby, this is a pretty think big thing, right? You know, if you go from not knowing what amps and volts are to building a whole robot
You
arm.
said basically doing an electrical engineering degree
Yeah.
in the last 3
cramming
months.
it in.
Yeah.
So the question is, think bigger. What's next year? What are you going to build? What are you going to, like, you're going to 3D print a house? What's
Maybe
the
his
plan?
If my wife is watching, she's going to kill me because she made me promise that
Whisper
at
it just to
least.
us.
Yeah, she made
The
me
other
promise that
10,000
I'd take at
listeners.
least a month off before I start doing my next thing. But there's definitely a lot of stuff that I want to play around with like drones, with small autonomous vehicles, definitely nothing on a road. But there's so many different things that you could potentially build with the robot operating system
Yeah.
and RoboMaker. And it's a great platform to simply get started and not have to put down loads of money for hardware up front. You can simply get started and test out. Make sure that you feel comfortable before putting that money down for hardware. So
We have a whole big event coming up around this, right?
yes.
The Remars?
Remars,
Yes. Are you
yes.
going to go along to that?
Well, we'll see, right? We'll see.
What is Remars?
So it's basically a lot of the leading minds around AI and robotics get together, and it's essentially a conference early June. where you'll see a lot of things such as this robot arm, but a lot of innovation that's happening in that space. So a lot of big names. Yeah.
Bobby, that is so cool. Thank you for that.
No, thank you.
So we're going to break some rules, Gabe, aren't we?
We're going to break some rules.
Yeah.
So, you know what they say, never look behind the camera, but we want to bring the very, very talented, hardworking,
Woo!
amazing staff
Get up here.
from the Amazon Live Events crew that's made all of this possible.
Yes.
Please come on up.
Please
First
come up and
special
join us.
guest.
Come up and
Al.
join us.
Come
So
say
this
hi,
is,
Al.
Yeah, the man.
so this is Al.
This is Al.
He has been the most intimate man I've ever been with.
Yes.
Because he's mic'd me up about 1 million times.
Down the back.
And the rest of the
Woo!
crew.
Yep.
So he has kept us honest, on time. And the guys behind, can we take a shot at the back?
Yeah,
please?
can we get a shot of the back? Say
The
hi
guys
to the
at the
crew.
back, they've done an
Yes.
Thank
amazing
you,
job.
everyone.
Right? Editing, putting creative art, making sure the right name goes with the right face, doing an absolutely amazing job behind the scenes. Al,
Yes.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Now, Kim,
Thank
get
you,
up
Al.
here,
Kim,
girl.
you have
Get
to
up
come
here.
up. You have
Come
to
We need to
on.
say thank
Come
you to
on.
Kim.
Come up.
Right, get over
Ladies
here.
and gentlemen
Yes.
who's
Get over
watching
here.
at home.
All right, this is Kim.
She
Yes.
put this
Okay.
whole thing
Getting
together.
in
This
She's
is
the
Kim.
producer.
Kim has been also behind the scenes. She's been driving everybody, the ALE team, all of us speakers. She's had to schedule edits and re-edits and some more re-edits, and she's successfully managed to make this thing a success. So Kim, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Kim.
you.
All right.
Oh, wait, we have a.
And
We
you know,
have a
we've got a little something for you, Kim,
Yeah,
before you leave
we have
the
a
stage.
little something for you.
Yeah.
Here it
A
is.
little
Here it
stage.
is.
Oh,
It's
look at
coming.
that.
It's coming.
Wow, what is
Something in
that? It's a
red bag is
surprise.
coming by.
Yeah,
Think
because
about
of
why.
how much you
to
did.
say thank you.
70
Hold on,
some
Kim.
sessions.
All right,
Don't
let's
go
bring it
anywhere.
up.
Over
It's just,
3 days.
The suspense is killing you.
It's coming.
The
It's
suspense
coming.
is killing you.
Yay.
Really putting me on here.
We're putting her in the spot. She's done such
We've
a
got
great
community
job.
hero Aileen Gemma Smith
Thank
coming
you,
up.
Eileen.
Come on
Bring
up.
it up here.
Come on up.
I feel really short.
You deserve it.
There you go, Kim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Kim.
much, Kim.
Thanks, guys.
All right, and now,
Stay here. Don't
stay
go
here.
anywhere.
Don't go anywhere
anywhere.
yet.
Get the front.
Because
Okay.
now, at the end, we've just got one more thing to say before we say goodbye to everyone, and that is, good night, Australia.
Hey guys, come on
Good
here.
night, Australia.
Come on, the whole team. Get up here. Come on, everybody. Gina, get up here. That's right.
Thank you to everyone on Twitch for all of the
She's
questions
also
you've
an
asked us
assistant behind the
throughout the
scenes. She's done a
days.
great job looking
It's been
after
really
everybody.
fun.
Jackie,
You're what
get in
make
here.
All
this
right, come on,
special.
everybody. Have we missed anyone else? All right. Good night, Australia.
Good night, Australia.